Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles, coming to you from an altitude of 5,280 feet, where we are hoping you will be joining us in June of 2022. We're super excited to be hosting Mile High that year, in this year, coming year in June. And also, I will say this, if you are listening, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss any Mile High tick. We bring unplugged, true, authentic chiropractic. Today, I am super thrilled to introduce one of my favorite people in chiropractic, Dr. Mark Romano. He was born in Massachusetts. We won't hold that against him because I'm from New York. But he attended Palmer College in Davenport, graduated in '93, and he served on the Sherman College Board of Trustees. And he's very involved with national organizations that have represented non-therapeutic, straight, objective-focused chiropractic. So, Dr. Mark, thank you for having the values that you have, and thank you for joining us on the Mile High Podcast.
Well, thank you. I am super excited to be here, and I am looking forward to this. Been looking forward to this for a while, Doc. Very excited.
Well, we're excited to have you here. So let's start off with this.
Okay.
I know you. Other people listening may not know you as well. Share a little bit about how you found your way into chiropractic initially.
Sure. You know, it's kind of a funny story. When I was 13 years old, I was growing up in Boston, one of your rival communities, and I was bodybuilding. And back then, we didn't have computers, so we had to actually go to the library. And I picked up a book from Arnold Schwarzenegger's best friend, Franco Colombo, to learn more about bodybuilding, nutrition, things of that nature. So this was a little short guy like myself. He was Italian like me. He was basically 5 feet tall, 5 feet wide. He was a bodybuilder, a power lifter, an Olympic weightlifter, a boxer, a strong man, and he was also a chiropractor. And there was one sentence that changed my life. And I'm going to paraphrase this sentence. And it said something to the likes of, bones in your spine can misalign and produce nerve interference, and that interferes with the expression of life. I help your body adjust those misalignments so life can be more fully expressed. And at 13 years old, and I had already taken a beating through all the sports that I played, I was like, I would go every week to have something like that done. And then I thought, hey, I want to do that, which was kind of interesting because I was really good at sports, but I was really bad at school. I just didn't care about school at all. But this turned my whole life around. I'm like, I think I want to do that. So after everybody stopped laughing at me, because I was looked at as a great athlete, but not a very bright kid. And I didn't care because I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. So whatever. And then turned my life around, went to pre-chiropractic school at North Shore Community College in Lynn, Massachusetts, as we call Harvard by the Sea. Stayed there for a few years and then went to Palmer and graduated at 23 years old. And the rest, as they say, is now history in the making.
And then you've practiced now for 27 years.
Right. Since 1993, I worked with, got on the job as an associate with a fella in Mississippi. And learned a lot of things, was introduced to the blue books. At that point, I had read all the green books from volume 14 on.
Wow.
A lot of them, more than once. And there was always like, I understand chiropractic gets sick people well, but that doesn't happen all the time. And when I'm thinking maybe it's me. I don't believe enough. Maybe I don't have enough faith, whatever the case was. Then I read the blue books and I'm like, yes, finally, this now makes sense. So that was the biggest breakthrough that I had working there for 2 years. Now, when I moved to Mississippi, bro, I mean, I was just ready to work. I'm licensed in Massachusetts and South Carolina. But when I got out of school, none of these places I was promised was ready to have me because, I got a lot of energy, I guess. So this place came up in Mississippi. I had a hard time finding Mississippi on the map, but I found it. And so after I left there, I opened up in a couple of towns over. And now we have 3 offices in North Mississippi, hub of the universe, about an hour south of Memphis, and been in practice, rock and rolling, private practice since 1996, September of 96. And my son was born September of 97, incidentally.
Awesome. Yeah. It's funny you say that, and being a New Yorker, and you're saying like hard to find where it was in the South, like going from Greenwich Village to Spartanburg was like, what do you mean? Where is that on the map? So
exactly. Because it goes Boston, New York, everything in the middle, and then California. I mean, I still get family who think I'm in Ohio or Indiana, and they ask me how it's going.
How's
it going in Ohio?
Everything west of the Henry Hudson doesn't exist. So
doesn't exist. It's just one big state. It's one big state. Oh, but now Florida's on the map. Florida, Texas, and then California. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So now let's refine the chiropractic map. Let's talk about those green books and blue books first. I've got a stack of the blue books behind me over here. They're some of the most impactful things that I've read when I was reading them in chiropractic school. I buy each one right as they came out at that time. What was one of the most impactful of the blue books for you that you suggest to others?
The fact that, chiropractic is not a cure-all. The fact that chiropractic is not an alternative. The fact that chiropractic is its own unique entity and requires education toward that. We don't fit into any system. And if chiropractic is going to reach the world, we have to get clear about our message. And our message is very simple. Vertebral subluxations are bad, not sometimes, but always. And the blue books really brought this to the forefront. The message that Reggie Gold began to clarify after he realized in practice, not everybody gets well, and not everybody is refrained from getting sick. And it was this big relief. And I'm like, yes, now that makes sense. And I can say this from the angle of, look, these vertebral subluxations are always bad. Their correction is always good. They always interfere with the expression of life. And we have to remember from our 33 principles, innate intelligence never injures or destroys the structure in which it works. Chiropractors, please understand that. The chiropractor does not make the adjustment. The body makes the adjustment. The best that we can hope for as a chiropractor is to educatedly, and I did say educatedly, place a force that's a universal force in the best place possible through our analysis, so that can hopefully be converted to an innate force, allowing the adjustment to be made. And the blue books really opened me up to this. And I can remember after reading the blue books, I'm like, all right, this is cool. It also opened up the blue books that innate intelligence doesn't reside in the brain. That innate intelligence resides in the whole body. And I was like, oh, wait a second, that's cool. Because if you read the blue books, BJ will have you thinking that you cannot have any interference neurologically to the sensory side of any nerve tissue, because then innate intelligence could get wrong information, that innate intelligence residing in this small portion of the brain that is not vulnerable to any damage. And if innate got wrong information, it could make wrong mental impulse. None of that makes sense, BJ. And I love you. I'm standing on the shoulders of greatness. And then when the blue books was describing, look, every organ has an intention. And the intention of the nerve system is the conduction of mental impulse. And when you change structure, you change function. Now, I had to refine some of these things because when I was reading this, it wasn't totally clear in the blue books. And I would go to Reggie, and I would go to Joe Strauss, and I would go to Joe D, and they would say, dude, please shut it off. Stop thinking so much. But I'm like, but it's important. So Reggie was really talking at that time about when a vertebral subluxation occurs, you can have twisting of the dentate ligaments that twist the meninges, that causes intraspinal pressure among the confined fluid, cerebrospinal fluid throughout the brain, ventricles, and therefore you are changing the structure of the brain, spinal cord, central nerve system, which one makes it impossible to correlate a vertebral subluxation with any symptomatology whatsoever, and two, shows how all-encompassing these vertebral subluxations are in the aspect of the damage that they can contribute to the body. And it doesn't have to be a cure-all to be really bad. So if chiropractors can understand that a vertebral subluxation in and of itself is unbelievably bad because it changes the structure of nerve tissue, which changes its ability to conduct mental impulse, therefore causing damage potentially anywhere throughout the body, and that the correction of a vertebral subluxation is one of the most important things that one human being can facilitate in another. Now we can unite over that and fulfill the mission of 7.8 billion people seeing their chiropractor weekly for the analysis of vertebral subluxation.
I'll tell you this. You mentioned three of the people most impactful in my life, Joe,
and Reggie.
Reggie. Three of the most impactful people in my life and the philosophy. There's a small handful of others, but those three were who formed my thought process relative to chiropractic, help refine it. And you said something super important, which was the applying of a force so innate can assemble forces to make the adjustment. Correct. This is something that is so missing. It's the difference between manipulation and an adjustment. And so much of what's taught in chiropractic school, like, across the board, people are missing that. And what is being taught in schools is basically manipulation, and take out the whole fact that we are facilitators of an adjustment, that we don't actually do the adjustment, which is just tragic to me. I remember being in chiropractic school, David Koch being my philosophy instructor, doing this whole thing about, at that time, and having us write what would chiropractic, if you took innate out of it, it would be physical medicine, and that would be what is being taught or pawned off as chiropractic, which is a tragedy, because it's losing the most incredible healing art in the history of the planet, in my humble opinion. So here's the thing. How do we help more DCs actually get what chiropractic is, as well as DCs to be?
Okay, you want the truth here, brother? Because
Well, no, I want you to be inauthentic and lie.
You got it. Yeah, which I could do, but not well. Not well. The reality is this: I love the concept of non-therapeutic straight chiropractic. Is one of the greatest concepts I've ever been exposed to. Now, let's look at the vertebral subluxation. Keep in mind the vertebral subluxation is speculation in the regards to physical matter, backed by powerful philosophy and references. There is no research that substantiates the existence of a vertebral subluxation. I'm not saying we need it, because, golly, I know I don't, but, if we're going to do research, the only thing that I'm aware of that even comes close was BJ's wet specimen at Palmer College. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
So basically, BJ, for those who maybe aren't, before World War II, BJ was in Germany, and he wanted to prove that the medulla oblongata went down to the third cervical vertebrae, and just because of his HIO, hole in one concept of upper cervical. And now he claims that he did see that when people, basically at this point in Germany, they would dissect and people who weren't quite dead yet in jails and prisons. This is, sadly before World War II. And BJ talks about this person being dissected on, and you could literally see the shrinkage of the medulla oblongata happening as the ventricles were shrinking as this person was dying. Horrid experiment. And how much information can we get from that? Well, to this day, the wet specimen, which basically was this person's occiput, atlas and axis, and it appears that the atlas is rotated on this particular specimen, which we would say, well, that's a misalignment because of the four components of a subluxation: misalignment above and below, occlusion of a foramen, nerve interference, and mental impulse. Now, I would love to see research on the existence of a vertebral subluxation and the best way to analyze it. That hasn't happened yet to my knowledge. In either way, it's neither here nor there, because the philosophy that we have backing up and the references that we have from being in our offices utilizing these different techniques is profound. So we could organize some of that information as well. The problem is, there is no way to substantiate normal. So let's look at our philosophy and simply say this. If we can say, look, we have tremendous amounts of speculation, and everything in the body speculation. It's speculation that a certain amount of anesthesia in the medical field can put a person to sleep and be reasonable enough to bring them back. That's all speculation. And fortunately, a lot of times that speculation works. So I'm thankful that they're doing what they do, because I've had many surgeries from all the wonderful things I put my body through, and they've always brought me back. So thanks, guys. So with that being said, if we're going to reach the world, we have to have chiropractors who are not only really great at understanding the philosophy and applying it in their analysis and facilitation of the correction of vertebral subluxations. That is not enough. And it will never be enough, because if it was, we'd be reaching the world, and we're not. We're getting less and less people understanding what we truly do. And you stated some of the reasons earlier from what we're being taught. And what we're never being taught is what I call the missing link of chiropractic: our ability to communicate chiropractic in a way that not only people can understand, get really excited about, to be able to sell it, to be able to close it, to get people paying for it and excited to have it. 7.8 billion people in the world are only going to go when chiropractors are massively successful. Chiropractors, if you want to change the world, and if you want to change the world in a non-therapeutic manner in your offices, one, get really good at your understanding of it, philosophy and application of it, and technique analysis and adjusting. And second, you got to be able to sell it. Oh, but Mark, you're talking bad words. Yeah, you know what? I will sell it, serve it, save it. If it takes me 20 lifetimes to do it, I will do it above the law, below the law, within the law. or without the law. I'm still surprised at this day how many chiropractors wouldn't go to jail to practice chiropractic. I remember one time Reggie Gold was speaking at Palmer College, and he was talking about non-therapeutic straight chiropractic. And the professor who was teaching at the school stood up and he said, "Sir, are you willing to go to jail for what you're talking about?" And Reggie says, "Well, what do you mean? What you're saying could put these students in jail. Are you willing to go to jail?" And Reggie looked at him and says, "Are you telling me you're not willing to go to jail for this?" So the bottom line is, people have told me this my whole life, well, but they don't say it anymore because I've reached a place of tremendous, massive success. I have a very great relationship with my state board. There is no laws that need to be broken to practice non-therapeutic straight chiropractic. I teach risk management. I teach continuing education. I also teach chiropractors how to sell and close everybody who's closable with integrity, with honesty, and with congruency to our values. So I've earned a certain level of respect where I don't really have a whole lot of, I need more haters. So don't get me wrong on that. But people saying, well, this is illegal. Well, you know what? If it's illegal to serve my community in the same manner that I serve my own family, that I see my own chiropractor, then yes, guilty, lock me up. But good luck with that, because I take care of the vast majority of my community. That means I take care of the people who are working the blue collar jobs. I take care of people who are judges, who are police officers, who are in the fire department. So you're going to cause a little bit of a ruckus when you carry me off in cuffs. And I'll go to the jail cell and I'll find a way, because I'm connected. I'll get my table in there and I'll still be seeing people. So you can arrest me, but you cannot stop me as long as I'm alive. And if non-therapeutic straight chiropractic is going to be taught in schools, and if it's going to be reaching the world, it's going to take one thing: chiropractors being massively successful while being 100% congruent with their values. So one of the things, and I've realized this, for me to teach, I have to be massively successful. I got to make a ton of money, and I love money, and I love making money at chiropractic, and I love what I'm able to do with that. So if we can get more chiropractic millionaires and even billionaires, then we can take that money and we can put it in places to make a powerful difference, and we can help other chiropractors along. Rather than eating our young, we could take in chiropractors when they graduate school, and we can breed them to make them chiropractic leaders, which has not been done. Unfortunately, we're not making more leaders like we should. And we can utilize all of this amazing technology to create massive attention to say, hey, world, vertebral subluxations are bad, and we've got the answer. We can help your body make an adjustment, which is unbelievably good, because life will be more fully expressed. And in the words of Sid Williams, there is nothing more powerful than life.
You know, what you said about legal, illegal, and that lie, we learned at Sherman, and I'm sure you know this from the Blue Books and from other places, what Tom Gilardi taught us about was saying what you do and what you don't do, being very clear about what you know, having a terms of care, having a terms of agreement, right? Outlining exactly what it is for patient safety. That's not illegal. It's actually just great case management. Correct. And outlining what do people need to know about that, about saying what you do and what you don't do?
Oh, that's a great question. And this is where education is the most important thing. Joe D would say the orientation is the most important thing we do. For me, I have a consultation. I prefer the one-on-one with each family in describing what we do. So terms of acceptance, if people say, well, this won't hold up in a court of law, yucca, 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 whatever. I don't care about the court of law. I do things because it's the right thing to do. I do things because I care that my people be fully informed to make the best decision for them. And I'm going to do everything I can to influence the right decision for them. And I ask chiropractors, if it was you, do you feel that when people decide to pick you as their chiropractor and come in weekly for life, do you feel that they have made the best decision that they could ever make in regards to investing in themselves for their future and for their family's future? And if they don't say yes, I say, you're in the wrong profession, go find something else. And having the terms of acceptance, and I will say this as a caveat. For any chiropractor going into private practice, I always recommend first working with a chiropractor who's successful at practicing in the way you want to practice. The most influential time period in your career will be the first 2 years after school. So practice with somebody who practices the way you do, and then understand once you leave that office, Wherever you settle, you're going to be there for more than likely the next 20 years. And wherever you're at, whatever state that you're at, chiropractic sovereignty is from state to state, and every state law is a little bit different. Do not try to interpret the law on your own, and do not call your board asking them to interpret the law, because none of them are lawyers. Hire a lawyer. Ask that lawyer to interpret the law. Show the lawyer your terms of acceptance. If you're not sure about your terms of acceptance, and Daniel, I'm sure you have some, I have some, contact us.
Yeah, I do.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody signs a terms of acceptance.
Yep.
By understanding that you coming in this office, you understand that our sole purpose of this office is exclusive to the analysis and correction of vertebral subluxations, because they in and of themselves are detrimental to the expression of innate intelligence. Now, that is not the intent of this office to diagnose or treat any condition or ailment, and this is certainly not a cure-all for any reason, and we are advocates of other professions as well. We simply are focused on our objective of helping you have chiropractic as a habit in your life. Have I ever had a problem? No. Do I ever foresee a problem? No. Could there be a problem? There always could be a problem. What we want to do, and here's the thing, chiropractors have to understand, we are not here to serve everybody. Not everybody is a great fit for our office. You want to remove problems before they're a problem. And that's why it's imperative to have a really great consultation. Does that mean our education stops there? Absolutely not. Our education continues. We simply are setting a powerful foundation based on 100% honesty and congruency with our values. And in this way, we're looking at liability that asymptotes to virtually zero. With our terms of acceptance, having a good lawyer who understands, ultimately who's a member of our practice and understands the concept of our practice, and you're going to almost have no problems at all. And also understanding this, which I believe is very important, chiropractic is not and never will be a crisis service. We do not see people in crisis. We do not see people as a treatment. We see people for longevity, weekly for life. If somebody is in crisis in any way, ultimately they are not a candidate for your office, and to accept them in at that time is a massive liability.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, and we do, everybody comes in. I always do a class before they start care. Informed consent. We call it an informed consent, but basically it's a terms of acceptance, terms of agreement. Right. This is what we do with it. We don't, Absolutely. What we don't do, and they must sign. Otherwise, they're not the practice member for our office. And that outlines what you are, your agreement, your contract. It's not a contract, but it's when you tell a person, accept them for care, you either accepting them on their terms or your term, and it's your ballpark. You're deciding how this is our office and this type of care we do and what type of care we don't do. So important question. Words are very important. I know you know that, and we'd be very clear about our language.
Yes. What
do you feel about using the word correction as compared to the word adjustment?
I think the word adjustment is unfortunately rarely used correctly in chiropractic.
True. This is true.
Because when I see things like over adjusting, under adjusting, there's no such thing.
YouTube videos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're brutal. I won't even watch them. I think they're very unprofessional. And yeah, I said it. I think they're unprofessional, man, because I think they scare people, and I think they're belittling what we do. I think chiropractic needs to be something sacred, and I believe anything that interferes with that sacredness is blasphemy. And you people can tell me I take it too serious. They've been telling me that my whole life, but really, that's why I'm so successful at what I do, and I'm very trusted in my community. I would rather have somebody hate me for the truth than to accept anything else, because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Correction, I'd have to think about it, because I would have to see how it's being used. I haven't noticed. Is there a trend right now going? Is there a trend in our profession where people are replacing adjustment with correction? Is that happening?
Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about innate making the change,
right?
My view is that the word correction doesn't give enough credit to innate.
Well, yeah, I'm totally with that. It definitely doesn't. I just haven't really thought about it. And as far as the correction, yes, I have heard it be used before. Just like you're saying, the adjustments are a word. The adjustments are chiropractic word. And I guess for me, I use it all the time. as far as the adjustment goes. And when somebody comes in, and this is something I know is a peeve. I don't like chiropractors say, come on in and get adjusted. No, you don't know if they need an adjustment. Come in and get
That's
checked.
true.
Yes, come in and get checked. So I say this, and I'm big on words, just like you're saying.
Right.
People use the word pop or whatever, crack. I'm like, wait, that's blasphemous. That's a bad word in this office. We use either check or adjust. And preferably, it's real simple. We're going to get checked. Let's go ahead and get checked. And sometimes people try to fight me on it. People are going to try to test your authority. Well, I just didn't know. I totally understand. And now you know. Understand this. If a chiropractor is comfortable with you using the terms pop or crack, you're probably in the wrong office because they don't value what they do. You want to change the culture, change how they speak. I wouldn't be comfortable going to a surgeon who is comfortable with using the word, butcher. I'm not comfortable with that. If they're not going to use that, I'm going to butcher you up real quick. I'm like, yeah, I'm not comfortable. I'm out of here. I'll find somebody who respects what they do on a little higher value. And people say, well, shouldn't you joke about things? I'm one of the funniest guys I know. What I'm not going to joke about is chiropractic, and I'm not going to joke about money. That's me. And because both are very valuable to me. So with that being said, correction does not reflect what we do. That's why I don't use it. It's not in my vernaculum. And, as far as adjustment goes, chiropractors, use it better. There is no over adjusting. There is no under adjusting. Either a vertebral subluxation is present and you're facilitating the adjustment, or it's not present at all. There's no over or under. Ultimately, a person could be having their spine checked twice a day for the rest of their life, and they'd be better for it.
Right. Absolutely. One thing that my dad said many times when I heard when I was in school, which I think is really true. I want to hear your take on this. Is that a lot of what we see people doing, we talked about the YouTube videos, or over adjusting, really over thrusting, because you can't over adjust. Right. Philosophically, the body's doing the adjustment, but you can be over thrusting. A lot of that, and why people do things other than chiropractic as their focus, is one, a lack of reverence for the subluxation and how devastating it really truly is. And two, a lack of reverence for the adjustment and how impactful it can be for a person's health.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking life, even like health. And I want as big as we can, because we're looking at life. And yeah, Reggie Gold would say, bro, he would say this, and you probably heard him say it. Most chiropractors don't deserve to be chiropractors because they don't have that reverence. How can you teach something you don't have reverence for, man? And I remember even at Palmer, there were people who were teaching who didn't even really weren't advocates of chiropractic in any way. In fact, they opposed it. And I'm like, well, then why are you here? I didn't understand that as a student. And believe me, I was not a straight chiropractor as a student. I was an upper cervical chiropractic, get sick people well kind of guy. Mm-hmm. I was a bit on the more traditional side. So, with that being said, yeah, there's a massive respect of reverence. And chiropractors have little value, unfortunately, if we're looking at the scope of the profession. Right. Because now it's like we have these ridiculous debates that I won't get involved in. What nutrition should we add to chiropractic? What medicine should we add to chiropractic? What other professions should we oppress? I've seen state organizations oppressing licensure of physical therapists, massage therapists, their ability to be what's it called? Not primary care physicians, but portal of entry. I'm like, I'm not going to support that. I'm not going to support the same oppression that happened to my profession. And why would we oppress another profession when really what that comes to is the lack of understanding of what we truly do as chiropractors? So yeah, I believe there's a massive lack of understanding. Nobody's going to steal what we have. Nobody wants it. I don't care what kind of manipulation another profession's doing, because I think it's a great thing. I see a physical therapist all the time. I would go to a bone center if they had them in this country. I go to a chiropractor for the correction of vertebral subluxations. I love my PT. I love the dry needling that he does. I love my massage therapist. I love my surgeons I love the surgeon who took my eye that was 45 degrees from center and she helped make it straight. So I'm not opposed to any profession. There's too many great things that they're doing. What I am saying is chiropractors, it's time to study your craft, have a true understanding and value for the correction of vertebral subluxation, and be so busy that you have no time to think or do anything else in your office.
And do it with excellence.
Yeah.
Do it with excellence, regardless of what your analytical approach. There's so many great analytical approaches. Do it with excellence and do it with clarity and clear communication, and stay focused in your lane of what it is that you do. Don't try to be something else. What you do is so valuable in and of itself. There's no reason to spend time doing more.
That's
Not that it's
exactly
more,
right.
it's something else.
And I'm gonna take that great comment and even go a step further. Enjoy unpleasant discourse. We don't really know how much our theories hold water and how solid our philosophy is until it's tested. And how is it tested? Through wonderful and beautiful debate. And I want to know the holes in my game. I love being disagreed with, and I love having great debates because one, it's going to make my game more solid in either knowing where my holes are or knowing that I have a strong point as well. So the only way you know that is through having powerful debates, brother.
Right. So how, if someone's been practicing in a more therapeutic model,
okay,
nothing against them, that's where they were, that's how they found chiropractic, that's what they were taught, and they want to move towards a more non-therapeutic approach. They're like facing that direction, but they're like, I got to go step by step. And how do they do that? What are some things to help them move in that direction? Because it's not going to be an overnight thing for most people.
No, it's not. It's not. And that's a great question. Well, go to the seminars, right? Just like you guys got going on. Hire me as your consultant. Go to ntscinstitute.com and you can learn, study videos that I have hundreds and hundreds of them online. And find a mentor. One of the things that we have to understand about mentors, yes, you can make the transition. Yes, you could be massively successful. Yes, you can make millions, if not billions of dollars. Unfortunately, if we're trying to reinvent the wheel on our own, it's going to take us about 180 years to do that. Or we can hire mentors. I didn't figure all this stuff out on my own. I bought the green books. I bought the blue books. I went to visit with Joe D and Mark Osteen and spend time in their offices and ask them questions. I became leaders of different organizations from Delta Sigma Chi to the Chiropractic Trust. And one, to honor the people who taught me, because as well as I do, man, you better have some thick skin if you're going to be a leader. I'm constantly I hate, the more haters the better. That makes me more successful, and I'm all about that. But come to this game correct. You got an issue with me? Great. Let's debate about it. Let's talk about it. I want to be better. Do you want to be better? Then great. We're going to have a great conversation, and we're both going to walk away with a better understanding of each other. So let's do that. Small steps are powerful. And just like you said, a commitment to excellence. So happiness is progress. One, if we look at success, what is success ultimately? Knowing our purpose, developing our skill sets, sowing seeds that benefit others, staying massively congruent with our values, making a ton of money. Okay, having freedom in our time. And there was another one that was really important to me. Which one was it? Because I've really been thinking about this here lately. And making a difference in this world. We got to have the money. If so many chiropractors are struggling and they try to justify it with what can we call that? Self-righteousness. If you're not feeding your family, and if you're not making a ton of money doing this, let me help you. And we'll help you and show you how to invest that money so your money's making money while you sleep. And progress only happens when we know our purpose. And the other thing we can throw in is having a mission. Have you read The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek?
I have not. It's on my shelf and I have to read that.
Yeah, you really do, because it talks about two things. We got the finite game where we're simply trying to win in that moment. It doesn't work and it never will work. The infinite game is where we're investing in our future constantly and leaving for our legacy. So when we're looking at the infinite game, if we're making progress, like nobody wins at marriage, but if we can look at every day an ability to understand and work better with this person, and every disagreement or argument as a way to better understand this person, we are building a better relationship for the future. But if we look at disagreements and arguments as something to win, ultimately we're destroying our marriage for the future. And if we look at chiropractic of what's the best thing for this moment, which is what's been happening, that's not building our future. If we can look at chiropractic and say, We have a purpose and we have a mission. Your purpose comes from the past. Everything that you've learned from the past, your values, explaining what you do clearly to yourself and to others. That's all in the past. Our mission, or what Simon calls your just cause, is your future. So the past, if we look at past in my office, standing on the shoulders of giants, defining chiropractic as the analysis and the facilitation of the correction of vertebral subluxations, because they, in and of themselves, are detrimental to the expression of innate intelligence. Chiropractic is all education toward that objective. Chiropractic is nothing else. That definition of how I practice, my purpose, came from the past. That's your why. When we look at the just cause, that's the rallying cry that will get people motivated together, because in my opinion, the only way we reach 7.8 billion people is through the non-therapeutic model of vertebral subluxations are always bad. You cannot feel them. Everyone has them. Get checked by your chiropractor and know. So the just cause is 7.8 billion people seeing their chiropractor weekly. Will we get there in my lifetime? I don't know, but I'm setting the legacy for that foundation to happen. How do we get there? From chiropractors being massively congruent and making a ton of money, seeing hundreds and hundreds of people a day, a week, and having so many people in their office they can't see no more, taking in associates and then helping getting them set up in their own practices.
There's something that breaks my heart, and most likely it breaks your heart as well, is when you see someone who is a chiropractor that is a great adjuster, philosophically sound, and then they leave practice and they're bartending or something like that.
Seen it many
or
times.
They just can't even make ends meet and they're living less than an abundant life.
Correct.
Is that heartbreaking to you?
I've seen it so much. That's my reason for creating the Institute. That's why I call communication, selling, and closing the missing link of chiropractic. That is the reason. I've seen so many great chiropractors leave because of that. They just couldn't make a living. In fact, before I got to Pontotoc, Mississippi, and I've heard this story, there was a guy named Dr. Brooks who was down the street. He wasn't here when I was here. He was here probably a decade or two before me, and I never met him in my life. I wouldn't know him if he walked in this room, but I heard a lot of great things, and he's a rebel, kind of edgy, my kind of guy. He practiced with the box on the wall as an objective straight chiropractor, couldn't make it. Last I heard, he was an architect.
Yeah.
That's why I have the Institute. I can help any chiropractor learn to sell and close. And people say, I don't know what they say because it's all ridiculous. It's with honesty, integrity, congruency. And if I can't do it honestly, I don't do it. The whole thing about chiropractic is service after the sale. You are not going to build a huge practice if you do not have trust, and you will not have trust if you're not congruent.
I'll tell you, you said a lot of important things, the congruency, all of that. There's something that you haven't said that I think is very important. And let's hear what you say about this.
Okay.
Another area is you can have all the congruence. You can read all the green books, blue books, be great at your technique. There's a word that's also, I feel, central that people often miss is certainty. Certainty.
Is certainty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, golly, I think we touched on that a little bit with,
like how important is certainty in what when you're communicating to people?
Well, I mean, first of all, my question to chiropractors is, how often do you see your chiropractor? And the question, like we talked about earlier,
right?
Are people better off when they make a decision to come and see you every single week for the rest of their life? Are they better off? And if their answer is, I don't know, or no, either you need to get more clear. I should have said this. or more certain and confident, or get out of the profession completely.
Because I hear you, and you ooze certainty. Every ounce of what you're saying,
yes, absolutely.
You own it, and they're certain about it. But you see people come out of school and they're practice 10 years. And again, I think it's a big part of not just their scripting or their procedure, or knowing, but they have to be certain about that. They know what they know, what they know.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not, what are you doing? And you can't fake this. So more than likely, their journey, whether it was from out of school or who they associated with when they got out, they dropped the ball big time. This is why it's so important, because my thing is this. I've been in practice now, just like you said, since, I've been in private practice since 96. I pick my members. They don't pick me. And if I'm not confident at all that they aren't buying in. So in other words, basically, I've done everything that I can. I've set the best price that can possibly be set. My skill set's off the chain. My experience is off the chart. They get the deal that I always wanted growing up in my life. They get what I always wanted. So, I've got different packages. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, $90 a month for the rest of your life. You sign a contract, and that covers your children under the age of 17 as well. That's a single parent with kids. Do I sign people up on that? Even when I could? No, I don't. Because if I'm not certain, if they show me any restraint at all, I'm still going to give them a chance. The next step is going to be $300 for 3 months. We're open 7 days a week. Get here as much as you can. The first 3 months, come in every day if possible. Well, I can't do that. Can't do that. Look, I'm not saying what you can and cannot do. I'm saying that you can, because we have the availability to do so. And to get the most out of the service, it has to be a habit. There is no way around that. Now, if I'm still not sure, I do have a 1 month for $150, and I let them know this. And I'm talking about conveying this to my practice members. Let me tell you what this is. This is one thing to see if we like each other. This is not the end all be all, and it's certainly not come in for a month, take off 3 months, come back for a month. I don't do that. That's garbage. That's inconsistent. I don't want that. This is doing one thing, seeing if we like each other. During this month, I want to make sure that I like you and you like me, and that you are 100% on board with this, because I'm a happy guy and nobody in my office is going to interfere with my happiness. People who buy into the purpose and they see the value of this and how much it's going to improve the quality of their life 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road are happy every time they come in. That's my people. The question is, are you my people? We're not sure. That's what the month does. And do I have people go the month and then never come back? Of course. Will I help them find a chiropractor around the area? Absolutely. Glad to. I'm one of the biggest advocates for chiropractors on the planet. If what I do does not make you happy, there's 17 other chiropractors in the area. So, and a lot of them are good folks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
yeah. There's
I think
I say the same thing all the time. There's plenty of other chiropractors. There's no shortage of them in Boulder. I do things a certain way. And if you want to see me, then this is how they're being done.
This is how they're being done.
And Absolutely. We do it because it's in your best interest. I set up the rules of the ballpark, not for me, but for you and how you're going to get the best outcome for your health. And that's why I spend time here, is your health and well-being,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
and
you're the authority.
I'm not gonna compromise that for you, but that also is then coming across as certain about your procedures,
Very certain.
how you analyze the spine, everything. If
Yes.
that's not there, that won't fly, because people will smell it. They'll pick it up.
Of course they will. You're going to have your authority tested regardless. And if your frame doesn't win out, and if you're not the number one authority in your office, that is a massive liability. And most chiropractors are practicing with that liability. To me, it's simply not acceptable.
I want to ask you this. Actually, I have one more question, but before we go to that question,
sure.
How do people learn more from you? Where do they go? And we'll put these notes in with the podcast
Wonderful.
That goes out, but how do they do that?
I love that. You can go to NTSCInstitute.com and you can message me from there. And you can check out the platform. There's videos on that landing page. And basically, we have hundreds of videos, 3 to 8 minutes long, that will help you communicate chiropractic better, understand chiropractic better, and be able to sell and close it better, market it better, create more attention better, open up your new practice better, transition your practice better, educate your CAs better. I mean, bro, it's everything from A to Z. And I can be reached from that platform, ntscinstitute.com.
Thank you. So I'm thinking, in addition to reading books, and in addition to going to people's offices and speaking to people one-to-one, over the years, maybe in the early 90s, maybe in the late 90s or early 2000s, there were probably programs, events that you went to that were instrumental in your development. I know, for example, me, Sherman Lyceum was one of them.
Absolutely.
The Triune Seminars was one of them that was a game changer for me. What were things that you had participated, attended that really helped you?
Well, those things definitely were. I used to go to the Sherman's Lyceum every year. I used to attend every Triune. They were instrumental. Delta Sigma Chi had some great events. The fraternity that we promoted, that I learned a lot from there. Yes, the books. I also have a book called Why Chiropractic, goes over the difference between non-therapeutic and therapeutic chiropractic. And it's not only great for chiropractors, especially in making that transition, but also great for your practice members to show you that there is two types of chiropractors on this planet, which are ultimately two different professions. Just like you're saying, when you were talking about one being manual medicine when involved with the correction, and the other one being the adjustment, acknowledging and working with the innate intelligence of the body. So, you pretty much summed it up. I mean, and I invite chiropractors to come and visit my office. Give me some heads up. We have places to stay. We have 3 offices. I have an amazing associate, Dr. Blythe Peoples, working with me. And let us show you around the town, show you around the offices. We'll have a great time and do things live. Reading the blue books, read the blue books before the green books, and it will make much more sense to you.
I love it. Well, I want to say thank you. I want to thank you for being a consistent, congruent voice of reason in the chiropractic profession to help more people get closer to the principle. You know, to me, I'm a lot less judgmental than I was 20 years ago. I was very judgmental. Now I'm much more like, look, what direction are you facing? Let's help you go facing more and more step by step. When you're facing the therapeutic direction, that's not good. But when you're facing the non-therapeutic direction, let's get you closer to that. You know, the more chiropractors that go towards a non-therapeutic direction, the better we're off by a profession. The more they're centered in it, even the more better. But you're not going to start at the center. Most likely you're going to have to, converge on that at some point. So thank you for being a resource for that.
You are most welcome. And I appreciate this podcast. You keep this thing rocking, man. I love it.
I appreciate it. So, hey, everybody, keep on your radar what is going on with Mark Romano throughout 2022. Go to NTSCInstitute.com. And if you get the chance to visit his offices, I highly recommend do that.
Thank you.
We do not want to see you go off the rails away further from chiropractic and even end up in another profession. You've received the calling somehow to be a chiropractor. You live a life worthy of that calling. You have the greatest healing art in the history of the planet in your hands. And you just have to deliver that and get yourself out of the way to help by helping people live lives enhanced to their full potential by having subluxations out of their way.
Yes. Love it, bro.
So keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic. Look forward to seeing everyone on Higher Ground in June of 2022. See you there.